This week, in the spirit of multimodalities that we're discussing, I decided to take a little bit of a differentiation from my usual posts and do a video as well, sort of surrounding the central theme of a question that's sort of come up for me this week, and that is the highest levels of academics. The universities, the scholars, the ones who are studying semiotics and multimodalities, they're the ones who are advocating this for learning from children from a young age. There's been shown multiple studies both in Siegel and with the Thompson article, which discussed how not only does it get them thinking about different ways of exploring a topic, but deepens their understanding and helps out and encourages the students to be more enthusiastic and engaged in the subject. With that in mind, I want to sort of question, why is it that the highest levels of academics that are espousing these ideas, which I personally agree with because I'm doing the video, but why do they not embrace them in universities and in the higher academia world? What we end up finding is, like in this course and many others, it's all text-based. There's no multimodalities really getting involved. We're not looking at the exploration of images surrounding things. We're not connecting this to videos so much, although thankfully in the online sort of community that is more prone to be the case. We can share videos from CNN, BBC, all over the place. But it's not a major focus, and nor do we really incorporate this as much and engage it as they're suggesting is a way that we can explore this, both Siegel and then Thompson. Now, there's a few things I want to draw attention to with regards to this, such as the idea that both this, for example, when they're taking a look at this in Siegel, they examine for, where is it here, Anne Hayes Dyson and Jerome Harst, Virginia Woodward, Carolyn Burke. Both studies that they did showed that when young children wrote, they not only made meaning-making through linguistic signs, as Harst et al. Argued, taking gesture, dramatization, and drawing are an intimate and integral part of the writing process. These studies, initiated more than 25 years ago, were responsible for questioning the centrality of print in literacy for expanding the symbol systems that were deemed necessary, not just nice for literate practice. They questioned 25 years ago, when this article was written, why print was the sole focusing mediator that defined what literacy was. And on top of that, they noticed that the researchers could have categorized children's responses as successful or unsuccessful, and vice versa with regards to how they approached this study and their results. But it would have done, if they did this, not only would they be breaking away from the semiotics ideas and theories that they were considering, but they would have missed the complexities of the children's literary acts by confusing product with process, confusing convention with language. The way I see this is that convention itself is how we define what academic literature is and what we say being a literate person and literacy in general happens to be. And with the semiotic theories that are coming in through Siegel in his review of the literature, they've questioned that for a while, but we haven't really engaged in this topic. It's something that, when I've personally done this in a classroom, where I connect pictures to writing, such as the picture word induction model, where I'll get a picture up on a board, we'll draw adjectives, verbs, we can create from this one image. I'll bring in other things. I've even used a video for something like this, in which we take the video, okay, what can we see in it? What were the objects that we saw in it? What was going on? How can we use those verbs in a sentence? How can we create a paragraph out of this? You use different modalities to get them engaged, but it's something that doesn't always mesh well and still doesn't carry over to the higher academic world, which is something that doesn't quite fit for me. We make these recommendations so often, yet it's not something that we see very often. It's just print. While personally these articles are really interesting and engaging, what can we do to carry it a little further is what I'd like to ask. And another quote that I really liked from the Siegel article that sort of was the researcher's reflection here was, in short, our program of research forced us to abandon what in retrospect might be termed a verbocentric view of literacy and adopt a semiotic one, in which orchestration of all signifying structures from all available communication systems in the event have a part. By seeing a video like this, I'm able to communicate where it is. That was on page 66 and 67 crossing over in the Siegel article. And you're able to see my visual expression. I'm able to say a little bit more with my body, with my voice, than just strictly in print. But this isn't something that's really considered too often. It's something I want to keep drawing attention to, because I get the feeling that if we did regular videos, or if we even did once a week an optional face-to-face interaction with something like Skype, we might be able to pull more out of a course that's online, or even not even doing articles so much, but perhaps videos involved, or other things that are going to be more than that. What can we add to simply the print, which, while incredibly informative, does not engage all of the senses in the same way? And it's interesting the way they work through the arguments made over the years, through the semiosis that ends up coming up, the media analysis, transmediation that comes through in the Siegel article, which doesn't always get, I'm noticing, isn't carried over on the higher academic level. We've started to bring this in the classrooms. I'm seeing it quite a bit more. It's something that we're advocating in the classrooms and bringing in a lot more. But as the Siegel article also mentions, it's not something you're necessarily going to find all the time. It's not necessarily something in a teacher's comfort zone, which is an interesting look. But the Thompson article, for example, does a good job of a way in which you can engage students on a multimodal level. It's not about just technology like I'm using here to make this YouTube video, but it's about a little bit more than that. What can you use that is not just the subject, not just the numbers and forms and math? What it is not just the structures of language in an English class, not just the history in the history class. How can you reenact it, perhaps? How can you bring it into some sort of newspaper articles or debates, that sort of thing that can bring it in? This, I think, those same concepts that we bring into the classroom and that are becoming more and more prevalent, we should try to bring those into the higher academic world. If we can bring in the engagement we try to foster in the younger grades, just imagine what more could be done at the academic level. If you get in a class, you don't have an assignment that is just doing posts on an online community board, but instead you sign up to do a Skype debate, for example, or else you'll create you'll have a discussion board in which you debate about a single topic, and that is a potential assignment. The whole point is you're being able to do different things in different settings, not just the very traditional academic environment, not the very traditional academic paper. It's different modalities, different ways of approaching it. Engage what you have in terms of technology. A lot of us, especially we are in an online course, we have access to computers, video recorders. We're able to use the technology more so than others who perhaps can't necessarily afford to take an online course because they don't have a computer, they don't have easy internet access, and it seems like everyone on a course like this would. We should be trying different things to engage the multimodalities. Another thing that I rather liked about the article here for Thompson was the way in which she changed things up. The literature circles, the way they approached it, it's very traditional in terms of it's a commonly used thing in the classroom environment. We take these literature circles, we get the directors, we get those who do the pictures, the artists, and that sort of thing going on. But the thing is, they are also going beyond the traditional scope. It's going into things such as not just this, okay, this is the summary of what it is and this is what it means, but what does this particular theme in the reading that they've done means? What images can you pull from this? What sort of mind maps can you create? It's a different way to consider things, and I have to say that creating a content lesson, the culminating content lesson especially, is something that I know even I have to consider this significantly more, in that you need to figure out ways to use more than just print. I've been talking a lot about it, but print is something that it seems we always want to come back to. It is the gold standard, is the way it seems in many levels, that we hold what it means to be literate up by. And I think that these articles do a good job of asking us and questioning us, how can we break away from that as being the big thing, what we value more than anything else in the classroom. We need to consider more than just being able to do print. I think I'll close this off with a quote that I really like from the Thompson article on page 149, which encompasses a lot of the ideas. It was said by Sue, a pseudonym again, but it's from the Multiple Perspectives on the War in Iraq, the group that did that one. And she said, there are so many benefits to having a group that spanned across contents, because we were able to offer students a discussion that embraced multiple perspectives from English to math to music. I know you were surprised that we didn't have a history perspective with our topic, but we really saw this as an asset because it really made us look at the topic from what we do know and how to think about the events in this way. I think it was more refreshing this way. All the group members helped in creating a text that reflects multiple literacies. All of the texts that are things I would say are not only appropriate in the secondary classroom, but highly relevant to adolescents and should be included in our classrooms. They brought in a huge list of things: songs, poems, non-fiction stories that are probably closest to what you would find in a traditional social studies or history scenario where you're examining something like the Iraq War. News articles. They even brought in films, both with humorous twist and rationales, the frontline truth, war, and consequences from BBS. There's a lot of things they can bring in. If you bring in the different modalities, different ideas, you're able to engage a lot more ideas coming from a single topic that I think we don't always consider or bring across in print. And so what I want to advocate personally is we should re-examine what we actually do as teachers or educators in engaging the different multimodalities. Reflexively look back on what we have done and what we are doing in academic courses. How can we change things up? Do we need to have strictly a print post every single week? Perhaps our discussion can be based around an image we have found that relates to the topic. That's what sparks us, not just strictly the articles. Maybe we can create videos like this, although I'm not saying you should. It is something that I personally chose to do this week, but we need to think of different ways to approach the topics, different ways to engage the modalities, and we should, I believe, take to heart the idea that if we can engage students at the younger grades in the multimodality areas, that we should try to do the same for ourselves at the higher post-secondary academic level that we're trying to engage in. And I'd like to thank you for watching the video, if you took the time to watch this rather lengthy one. And just wanted to say that the two articles I examined, of course, were the Siegel one and Mary Thompson's Multimodal Teaching and Learning, Creating Spaces for Content Teachers. And that was the sort of reflection I had this week with regards to both the articles and ways that we should be considering multimodalities and approaching them. Thank you.